We are officially in the summertime, which means we're halfway through 2025. And last year I did a best of 2024 video so far, which I will link down below for you guys, where I covered all of the best products in the first half of the year. So I wanted to do that again this year because I feel like looking back on an entire 12 months after testing so many products, you tend to kind of forget about the products from the beginning of the year. So I want to go over all of the products that I think have been incredible and the ones I've been thoroughly enjoying. So this list today includes some products that were released in 2025, but also products that may have released prior to this year. I'm not going to be including products that I talked about last year though, just for the sake of not being repetitive. But just know that I still love and use many of the products that I mentioned last year. So again, I will leave those videos down below for you. But before we get into the best products of 2025, I want to thank today's sponsor, which is Lumi. So earlier this year, I started to experience some sensitivity and irritation under my underarms, and this happens to me periodically, and I started to play with the idea of switching it up again, which is always kind of a journey because sometimes it takes a few tries before I find something that works for me. But this time, I decided to finally test out Lumi after hearing so much about them, and really quickly after starting to use the products, my sensitivity had gone away and the irritation under my underarms were fading, and I haven't had it since. In case you guys aren't familiar, Lumi was invented by OBGYN Shannon Klingman, and it's clinically proven to block odor all day and continue controlling body odor for 72 hours. And as you guys know, I live in Florida, so controlling body odor is super important to me, especially moving into the hottest months as well as the most humid months of the year. So personally, I have been using Lumi for over 4 months now, and I have put these products through the ringer. Lumi is a whole body deodorant that stops the odor before it starts, and my go-to is the Invisible Cream. I have this in the lavender sage, and I really enjoy this scent because it's subtle, but it lets me know that it's working all day. I love how this feels like a creamy lotion, and it rubs completely into the skin. I've never had any pilling with this, and it dries down super quickly. Another one that I really love is the Smooth Solid in the scent Vanilla Bliss, and I have the Invisible Spray in soft powder, which is great for overall coverage. And I have been using the travel deodorant wipes and the travel body wash for the last few months that I've been traveling. So I think it's safe to say that I've had a great experience with Lumi because not only are the products skin safe, but they're baking soda free, cruelty free, vegan, and pH optimized to use anywhere on the body. If you're interested in trying them out, Lumi's starter pack bundle is a great deal for new customers because it comes with a full size stick deodorant, a cream deodorant tube or spray deodorant, 2 free products like the wipes or the mini body wash, as well as free US shipping. And just for my followers, Lumi is offering an extra $5 off when you click the link in the description below and enter code BKStudio at checkout. So that is a deal of 40% off. Thank you again to Lumi for sponsoring this video, and let's get on to the best of 2025 so far. So we're going to start off with some makeup, specifically complexion products, and starting off with the Makeup Forever Super Boost. I have this one in the shade 6, and it is a perfect match for my skin tone. This is more of a light to medium coverage, so the shades are a little bit more flexible here. I find this one to be very moisturizing and have a blendable formula without feeling greasy. I think if you have oily skin, but you still kind of want something that looks a little bit more hydrated, especially for the summer months where you're wearing possibly less makeup, this is a great option because it's not like overly greasy, and it's something that actually sets down really well with powder. While it is a skin tint, it wears really well throughout the day, and my makeup stays put unless it's a long makeup day. Then I have a little bit of demarcation like where my bronzer or my blush are, but for the most part this will last me through an entire makeup day if I need it. And it's also really beautiful when I'm filming. That's not always the case with skin tints. Sometimes it doesn't give me enough coverage, but this one is great for everyday wear as well as if I need it for a little extra something like filming. For a skin tint, I think overall this layers really well, and it still feels lightweight throughout. Like, it doesn't feel like I have grease underneath any of the powder that I put on top of it, and it layers well with creams, liquids, really anything that I want to put on it. It stays put, looks really beautiful, and I love how skin-like it looks. Next we have the Urban Decay Face Bond Foundation. This one I have in the shade 17 Medium Warm, and this is one of my go go to actual foundations. It does have a self-setting claim, and while I don't think that for me I can go without powder, it does give me a really beautiful hydrated finish that feels like it's dried down more than other foundations, and it actually stays put. If I had to categorize this, it would be somewhere between a satin, very light hydrated finish. I like that it doesn't look dry, and I can put other products on top, even powder, without this starting to look really cakey, even though it does have a little bit more of that matte characteristic to it. And the shades themselves are very interesting. When I was looking at the shades online prior to actually swatching them in stores, I was completely off on my shade match. So I would recommend to actually go into the store and look at the shades. I do think that they are a bit off online than they are in person. But overall, it does seem like they have a pretty good range. I've seen a lot of people find a nice match of this foundation for their skin tone. This year, I've actually gotten way more into more satin, more matte coverage foundations because I feel like they just last a bit better. And we have more options in terms of satin matte foundations that don't look so flat on the skin. This being one of them. This is the Maybelline Lumi Matte Foundation. I have this one in the shade 220, which is also my shade in the Maybelline Skin Tint. I would say that this is a really good intro into matte foundations if you're not a huge fan of, like I said, a flat matte, because this one will still leave a slight sheen to the skin that looks natural, but it does dry down very quickly after applying it. It does have a medium coverage, but you can build it up for a more high medium coverage. I have gone in with one very thin layer, blended it out, let it dry, and then I will go in just in the areas that I need it with a little bit more of this foundation, and that kind of gives me the high medium coverage that I'm looking for. When you actually feel the formulation and the texture of this, it feels a bit thin and serum-y like, and then when you blend it out, it blends super evenly. It wears for a really long time, longer than the Maybelline Skin Tint. I have an entire video where I'm comparing this to the Maybelline Skin Tint. I'll link that down below if you guys are curious, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this foundation. Next, we're moving on to some eyeshadow products, and these two have been incredible for me. These are the Armani eye tints in the shade 69S and 25M. So the Armani eye tint formula, I love how thin these are because they actually feel like they dry down and set on the eyes without feeling like an actual film on the eyes, if you know what I'm saying. They're super, super pigmented, even with a tiny little amount of this, and you can push the color super far as well. So I would recommend going in with very little and then building up on that. I do find that compared to the darker shades, the lighter shades are much more forgiving and they never look patchy whenever I layer on top of it. But overall, as an eye tint in general, these apply pretty evenly as long as you blend it very lightly with a brush and you don't use too much at once. I prefer using a brush with these because I feel like it actually blends it super evenly, and since it's so thin, it's very easy for it to just like cling onto your finger versus your actual eyelid. They're also pretty budge proof. They'll still crease on me after like a 12+ hour day of wearing my makeup on a hot day, but comparatively to other like liquid eyeshadows, I think that this one stays put really well. And for everyday wear, because I'm not always wearing makeup for 12+ hours in a day, these stay put really nicely without an eyeshadow primer. But I have used them with an eyeshadow primer, and that does extend the wear really nicely. Next, we have the RMS Eye Light in the shade Flare. While this is more of like a mousse texture, I find that it's a thin enough mousse that feels super, super thin when you blend it out, almost like watery. Specifically for this shade, I really like the dimension that this has. It has a bit of a metallic finish while also having enough of a base of a bronze pigment that it doesn't look too intense. Actually, I wouldn't say that this is a bronze. I think I've described this in the past as being more of an antique gold. I think that this is a great wearable shade for a one and done eyeshadow. These are some of my absolute favorite types of shades to wear as a one and done eyeshadow, and a tiny, tiny bit of this goes a very long way, and I can use this, like I said, alone or as a base, and all of the ways that I've tried it, it looks super beautiful and I just love. I love this. Next we have a mascara. This is the Kulfi Buddy Mascara, and to be honest, I was very skeptical about this when I first got it in PR because it's not waterproof, and you guys know I need a waterproof mascara for it to actually hold my curl. But I have not been able to put this down. It is a super dark black mascara with a very precise plastic bristle brush, but I don't like the ball tip. I usually just scrape off the excess product from the ball tip and then use the length of the wand. It has the plastic bristles, like I said, and there's the perfect amount of them as well as being the right size to where they don't deposit clumps of mascara on the lashes. And I do layer this with one of my Asian waterproof mascaras, and then once that dries, I apply this on top of it, and it is so beautiful because it gives me so much length, so much definition, and I can work it in to get a good amount of volume as well. But what I love most about this is the length and the definition. And the reason why I think this has worked so seamlessly within my routine is because since this is a tubing mascara, it tubes any mascara that I wear underneath of it, so I don't experience any smudging even if I normally do with that mascara. And because of those tubes as well, it washes away really well in the shower. It's kind of annoying otherwise, like if I try to wash this out in the sink, just because the tubes get everywhere, but if I do it in the shower, it's perfectly fine. I just love the effect. You guys have asked me about my lashes so often since I started to use this, and it's just so good. Next, I want to talk about my eyelash curler. So this one is the Surah eyelash curler, and what I love the most about this is the shape of it. I really appreciate how it has this very slight curve because it works with my flatter profile. I think it just fits in my entire length of my lashes super well since it doesn't have too much of a curve here. I also really like the cushion and the way that the entire tool is designed. It opens up very large, much larger than any other lash curler that I've used in the past. And because the way that this is designed and the cushion, it prevents you from squeezing too hard, which then prevents any crimping of the lashes if you guys have ever experienced that. It just gives a super defined curve in the lash, and you can go up through the lash length and it'll just like be this really nice curve throughout without going overboard. And also it doesn't pinch or break any of my lashes. It has just been so nice. Next we have bronzers that I've really been loving. So these two are from LYS. This is the cream bronzer and this is the powder bronzer, both of them in the shade Harmony. Both of these formulas respectively are incredibly good. The cream bronzer itself is super pigmented while still having enough of a slip to blend out the pigmentation, which the pigmentation of this is very high. I would say to go a shade lighter than what you anticipate that you're going to be, or else it can get a little bit too much on the face. That's what I originally did. I thought I was the shade Courage. It was too muddy, too pigmented for me. So I went down to the shade Harmony, and I haven't been able to put this one down. It works so well for my skin tone. I think it is the perfect amount of warmth while still being neutral enough to where it doesn't get muddy. I feel like this shade is a really good representation of what my skin actually looks like when I get a little bit more tan. Now the powder bronzer, which I'm realizing now that I forgot to apply this today, it's super silky and it deposits product very evenly. I don't have any hard pan and it coats the brush really well, which in turn allows it to go on so smoothly and non-patchy on the skin. I typically go in with like my baking powder or my setting powder all over my face before I go in with any powder bronzer, just to ensure that it doesn't cling on to any wet products underneath. And again, this tone, it's a very neutral bronze on me, so it doesn't pull too orange or red or gray. And with saying that, I am going to put this on my skin since I forgot. Just gonna do a light dusting here. See, you can already see that that side is a little more bronzed. Okay, that is much better. I knew something was missing. Now, one of the standout blushes that I wanted to include in this video is the Rare Beauty Matte Bouncy Blush, but specifically for the color in Worth. This one has truly been such a standout for me, and really one that I didn't expect to love so much, because I actually purchased two different shades before this one, but when I swatched this one in store, I just knew I had to get my hands on it, and I have been so blown away with how this looks on my skin. So the formula itself, I love that it's creamy because it goes on super smoothly on the face, but it also blurs the skin because it's a little bit more of a matte creamy formula. This shade, like I said, it kind of brings a little bit of brightness to my skin while also enhancing the natural tan that I have in my skin, and it adds a little bit of depth. I think that this shade itself works really well with all of my bronzers. It kind of just turns into this super natural gradient on the skin. And personally for me, I find that I get the most impact out of this when I put it on top of my powders. So instead of going on top of my foundation and concealer, I like to do my whole routine. Once I powder my face and dust away all of my bake, I will go in and tap very lightly on top of all the powder. And for some reason, I feel like that layer of powder really just enhances this shade, and it looks so blurred and so bright without being too out of place on the skin. Now we're gonna go back to eyes really quickly. I forgot to mention this. This is the Can Make Creamy Touch Liner in number 3, which is, I believe, just like the soft brown shade. Now this one is a 1.5 millimeter gel eyeliner. It's super precise for tight lining, but it's also precise enough to allow me to draw my wing out. Sometimes I'll go in and kind of define the wing a little bit more with a brush, and sometimes I can go in with just this and it'll create a very, very thin wing for me. Since this is a gel liner, it is super creamy upon application. It doesn't drag, it doesn't like tug anything on my eyelids. It feels really, really nice to apply, and it makes it that much easier to apply wing liner, which we know is kind of difficult for a lot of us, me included. Now this one gives you a good amount of time to blend and kind of manipulate that line, but once it dries down, it sets down and it does not go anywhere. That is something that I truly love about Asian beauty, specifically Japanese beauty eyeliners, is that they stay put, because a lot of us have very small eyelids that tend to kind of overlap. Some just small eyelids, some people have monolids, so it's important that we have an eyeliner that doesn't transfer. I also really like that Can Make has a very wide range of colors to choose from in this eyeliner. They have like reds, they have different tones of brown, they have fun purples, and I noticed that this is a very common thing in Japanese makeup, and I love that they have the subtle nuances of all of the colors. And it's very inexpensive too. I personally don't know how much this costs here because I purchased this one in Japan, and I think it was like $5 to $7 when you converted it, so really inexpensive, and I did buy a couple of backups. Now we're going to talk about a couple of lip products, and you guys know I love my lip products, so this is a pretty extensive list. I definitely have tried some very standout products, but these are going to be the ones that I find myself reaching for often, the ones that I can remember using for the majority of the year, or using it the most often since I've purchased them. So starting with the Ulta Weightless Water Stain in Plum Paradise. This has got to be probably my favorite water stain. I've generally been really loving water stains for how they dry down and stay put, and I really like that you can apply them sheer or build them up, and usually they're more even of a stain on the lips. Now I do think that you kind of have to make sure that your lips are prepped well, because I have heard feedback that water stains can cling onto dry patches. I don't typically have a lot of dry patches on my lips, so maybe that's why I feel like they go on super evenly for me. Another pro about water stains is I feel like they're a lot quicker to apply and get that stain right away versus applying a stain and waiting for like the stain to develop. Water stains don't typically last as long since they are water-based and they're kind of staining the outer layer of the lips, but I honestly don't find that to be too much of an issue because reapplying it is very comfortable, and for the most part with water stains, I love to use them as a foundational color underneath other products. So I feel like it kind of lengthens the amount amount of time that these wear on me. So this shade Plum Paradise, I feel like it gives me the most natural stain finish. This almost kind of deepens up my natural lip color without it looking like I'm wearing a crazy deep purple like it looks like in the tube. I think Ulta did a really good job with this line. The colors that they have, I think, are very accurate to the marketing photos, and they cover all of the bases. So you have your pink, your red, your purple, your orange. This formula is made with glycerin, so they go on really smoothly and they don't feel overly drying on the lips. And my favorite way, like I said, is to use this as a base for other lip colors. I think it just gives me a little bit of color to work off of, and it's so beautiful. But I have also worn this alone, built up, and then just put a gloss on top. Next we have the Maybelline Lifter Liners. These are super long wear lip liners. They outwear a lot of my lipsticks or my lip glosses that I put on top of them, and they're just such good quality if I'm being honest. They're super creamy at first, which aids in blending it out the way I normally like to wear my lip liners. So I'll outline my lips, but I'll also kind of bring it in to the outer corners and just blend it in so it's a little bit more blurred. I would like to see them expand the shade range since the formula is so reliable, and it's a really good price point as well because these last such a long time, because a little bit of this goes a very long way. And I will say that these can be drying and leave that film forming feel to the lips, but I don't notice it when I put any other lip product on top of it. I do think that that more dry film form is necessary when it comes to more of these long wear lip products. Next we have the Glossier lip liner in the shade Buff. I generally love the shade range that Glossier came out for with these. I think that they look so natural. They can create such a nice contour, but there's also a wide range of shades. These are supposed to be water and transfer resistant, and they have medium coverage, which I agree with both of those claims. I do find that this is quite long wearing, not as long wearing as the Maybelline ones, but I do think they outwear a lot of like my non-long wearing lip liners. More long wearing than like your traditional sharpening lip pencil. This applies super smoothly on the lips, and it's creamy enough to take time to like blend it out the way that I mentioned I like wearing my lip liners. And I love how this shade perfectly contours my lips, but I can also kind of build it up to be a little bit more impactful. This just has so much range for me. It's not too warm, it's not too cool. It truly is like a beautiful, slightly pinky contour on my lips, and it's that perfect in-between shade for me. Next we have something that is quite new, but I have not been able to put them down, and I truly feel like they're going to continue to be standouts for me this year, and they are the e.l.f. blush tints. Now they're called blush tints, but you can also use them on your lips. I think that this is an incredible inexpensive option for long wearing water stains, and the water stain, again, it's great because it immediately stains your lips, so you know exactly how much to put on, and you can kind of like sheer it onto the lips or build it up. And I really like the shades that they came out with. Specifically, the shade Left on Red and Cherry Cola are the ones that I have not been able to stop using. I do have Left on Red on today as like the foundation of this lip color, and it's just beautiful. These are wonderful, and while I do mainly use this on my lips, I have used them on my cheeks, and it gives you a very nice subtle wash of color. Now I talked about these in a recent video that I will link down below for you guys, but I wanted to mention it again because they truly have been standouts for me. These are the Fui lip glosses. Now I love the concept of the different levels of pigmentation that they have with these. Each color that they have within this line has a pigmentation level of 30% and 70%, and it allows you to kind of customize how this looks on the lips while still having that same shade. These feel super plush, non-sticky, they glide on, and as you can see, they give you a really nice amount of shine without being thick and goopy. I feel like these stay on my lips for a very long time when we're talking about lip glosses because this does have a thicker gel texture, which again is still not sticky and it's not heavy on the lips. It just feels like such a nice, comfortable veil of a lip gloss. Now, my two favorites, the ones that I gravitate towards the most for most of my looks, are going to be vanilla in 30% and scotch in 70%. And again, I recently talked about these in a video, but I have to mention them, the Fui Jelly Pots. So these are going to be a solid gloss formula with a dewy, bouncy, jelly-like texture. And they give you kind of like a blurred lip look while being glossy and shiny. Think of it kind of as a glossy lip stain, but it gives you that color and pigmentation right off the bat without it changing the way that like glossy lip stain colors can once it kind of warms up on your lips. I really love the scent. I have described this as being like a sour candy scent. My husband has said they smell like pixie sticks to him. They smell really good. They're a fun, cute package. I just love how Fui comes out with these like really adorable packages, but the product itself is so incredible. Next, we have the Too Faced Pillow Balms. These are one of my favorite non-lip sleeping mask lip treatments to wear at night. Not the tinted ones, but I do have two clear ones that I wear, and I wear them every night, and sometimes I'll apply them after my skincare in the morning. These are super plush, very hydrating without leaving your lips feeling like goopy. And I think that the color payoff on these are quite high, especially for a tinted lip balm. I do prefer to use a lip liner with these because I find that the colors are so pigmented that it almost needs a little bit of dimension or depth to them that a lip liner can give them. Now, the scents of them are very true to the names, and I find them very yummy, but I could kind of see them being a big turnoff if you like the colors but then you don't necessarily like the scents. So for instance, the Hot Cocoa Kiss does smell like chocolate, but I know a lot of people love brown tone lip products, but they don't necessarily like the scent of chocolate. So that is something to note if that bothers you. This is a fresh tube of mine. This is the City Beauty Night Oil Treatment. I love this one for nighttime use because it keeps my lips feeling really hydrated throughout the next day and all throughout the night, and it doesn't like slip and slide everywhere while I'm sleeping. I did notice that I barely used a lip scrub when I was using this daily, which is pretty impressive to me. It has a little bit of like a thickness, kind of like a gel texture to it, where it's not a thin lip oil that will slide off like I mentioned. It does say that it has plumping aspects to it, but honestly, I couldn't really tell you. It's been a little while since I've emptied my last one, and it took me a little while to actually repurchase this one, but I will say that it does give you that hydrated look to the lips, so maybe it gives you that faux plumping look if it doesn't actually plump the lips. Now, if you're looking for a lip plumper that truly does plump the lips, this one is my go-to. This is the Dr. Dennis Gross Plump and Repair Lip Treatment. It's just a clear lip product, and this is the best lip plumping treatment hands down. So this one visibly plumps the lips, and it also brings some color to my lips because it is kind of irritating the lips the way that lip plumpers do. I find that this one is so unique because it doesn't dry out the lips like some lip plumpers can once it's wiped away. It actually leaves a film of hydration on the lips, which I really appreciate because it's such a good prep step whenever you're doing your makeup. Another really great thing about this is that it's clear, so you can actually use this again to prep your lips, and you don't have to commit to one color or buy multiple shades of this formula. You can literally put this on your lips and then wipe it off once it's done its thing, and then put your lip combo on and your lips will still stay plump. Or you can put your lip combo on and then put this on top as your gloss, and that also will give you that look of plumper lips. This one does say it has 4 sizes of hyaluronic acid molecules and volumizing peptide complex within the formula. Also, it has squalane, bisabolol, and centella asiatica, which explains why it feels so nourishing on the lips. list, I have to include my Eden Le Chou Chou lip balms. I categorize these lip balms as being a lip balm, a lip color, and a lip treatment because it excels in all of those categories, which I think is why these have been so popular. So these have really good medium pigmentation right off the bat, so you can build it up without getting goopy too quickly because you don't need that much product to get the color that you're looking for. The reason I think this is also a lip treatment is because it has those gentle chemical exfoliators in it like AHAs to keep the lips soft. It also has peptides to nourish the lips, and it says reduce wrinkles, but maybe it's just like the look of them. I couldn't tell you if it actually clinically reduces wrinkles, but I love the sensorial experience of this because they have these metal tip applicators, which I think is so sophisticated for a lip balm. It really makes them stand out because it just feels cooling and refreshing to put on the lips, especially in the summertime, but really any time of the year. I do have the clear one here with me. I always have this one, but I have all of the shades except for the Guava Fresca one, and I think that the shades are a bit muted, a bit more earthy, which for me makes them more tempting to wear because those are more of the kind of shades I like to wear on a daily basis. Now I want to talk about a couple of really big standout skincare products, starting with my Tear Milky Skin Toner. Now there's a light version and the original version. I personally, even though I have oily skin, prefer the original version because I like the thickness of it. Not saying that it's thick. I would say that this has a medium viscosity for a milky toner. I would categorize this being right in the middle. If you've tried the Haru Haru Barrier Essence toner, that milky one, it's thinner than that one, but it's thicker than like the Laneige Milky Toner. It's also a little bit thicker than the I'm From Rice Toner. I don't know if I've tried many more milky toners. Like I'm trying to try more milky toners like the Bioma one I really want to try. I've never tried the Rhode glazing fluid, so I'm not quite sure. I love this one specifically because I find that it's very calming on my skin, and it also adds a bit of hydration without feeling thick during the daytime. It is my go-to daytime toner because I feel like it really preps my skin, and it also makes it look very plump when I use this. I just love the way that my skin looks whenever I use it. It's non-irritating. Like I said, it is calming and soothing on the skin. And I did pick up the 2-pack that they had at Costco whenever that was in stock. I'm pretty sure that it's the same as if you were to buy it on YesStyle or Salvana or something like that, because I looked at the ingredients and they are pretty much the same. The next product I don't actually have because I finished it up and I think about this product all the time, but I'm trying to get through some more of my sunscreens before I repurchase this one. But this is the Beauty of Joseon Aqua Sunscreen, not the original version. While I do like that one, this one I think is far superior for me. So this has an SPF 50 plus, PA++++. I had to count that on my hands to make sure I got the pluses. I do prefer this one over the original because I feel like it's slightly thinner of a cream moisturizer while still being a cream, so it still feels really nice and nourishing on the skin, and it absorbs very quickly and it doesn't feel greasy. Sometimes in the summertime I would find that the regular original one would feel a little bit heavy. I really like how this one just feels super lightweight and absorbs. And there's no white cast on this one, and I believe it's because this one is a chemical sunscreen. I'm not 100%, but I'm like 99% sure that this is a chemical sunscreen. I couldn't do this video without talking about my VT Cosmetics Riedel shots. So these are the 100 and 300 levels. These are the ones that I use the most. So the Riedel shots I find are super effective for smoothing out the texture on my skin and also helping me with my acne and any residual acne spots. So I will link my entire video down below if you guys want to know more in depth about these. The Riedels are little spicules that go into the skin and penetrate the skin to allow for better absorption of your other skincare products. I really truly feel like this helps with the absorption of my other skincare products because I feel like there is such a clear difference with the skincare products I was using before these and then after. They just seem to be way more effective. I cannot get enough of them. I've already emptied the 100. I'm almost done with my 300. I'm pretty sure I have like, I don't know, maybe 2 more uses out of this thing, but these are incredible. Another sunscreen that I have been loving, I'm almost out of this one. I'm like link at the very bottom. This is the Haru Haru Wonder Black Rice Moisture Airy Fit Daily Sunscreen, and this also has an SPF 50 plus, PA++++, and there is no white cast with this one. I misspoke one time on my Instagram stories saying this was a mineral sunscreen. It is actually a chemical sunscreen, so that explains why it has absolutely no white cast. I find this one very moisturizing, more so than the Beauty of Joseon Aqua sunscreen that I talked about earlier, but it still absorbs into the skin really well. It leaves it more, for lack of a better term, like a little bit more greasy or hydrating, but also in a good way, because I feel like this one doubles as kind of makeup prep for me. It gives me a very hydrated base, but because it absorbs into the skin so well, it just blends all of my makeup in, but it doesn't compete with it. I also really love the packaging. I love that it has this pump, so you're able to use all of the product up. Moving on to a couple of hair favorites for the year. So I have been experimenting a lot with drugstore shampoos and conditioners, and I have truly found some bangers. Y'all have even noticed, and you guys have mentioned that my hair looks incredible these days, and I tend to agree. I'm really enjoying a lot of the hair care products that I've been testing, including this line right here, the Garnier Fructis Hair Filler plus Vitamin C Strength Repair Shampoo and Conditioner. This is, I believe, like a bond strengthening type of line, but these are so nice on my hair. These tend to clean my hair incredibly well without stripping my hair and without my hair feeling like it needs some extra dose of hydration. It smells like fresh green apples. It smells very subtle in the hair, but while you're in the shower, it's like very strong, and it smells so good. I love it. And like I said, it cleans my hair so well that I can go a few extra days without washing it if I wanted to. And something that immediately impressed me and continues to impress me with this is how it makes a visible difference in my roots. So whenever I wash my hair, I can actually see my roots like plumped up and super clean because of these. Now we have the Dove Bond Strength, which is going to be one of their protein systems as well. This is so incredible in the hair. The first time that I used this and I did a blow dry on my hair was incredibly shiny and smooth. This leaves my hair looking like I just went to the salon and got a professional blowout. I am always impressed by this system. I try to kind of rotate hydrating systems and protein systems to allow my hair a little bit of both, and it seems to work really well for me. I would say that this smells like very classic Dove hair care. I don't know if that makes sense to any of you guys, but it just smells like a very clean, slightly sweet, lightly floral, but not too much to where it's like powdery type of scent. The shampoo lathers incredibly well, and I feel like I get a really nice clean. My hair doesn't feel as light and as clean as the Garnier one, but those kind of sit on the cusp of being more like a clarifying shampoo, while this one is hydrating, but it still cleans my hair really well. I cannot get enough of these. I have tried the Intense Hydration, but I definitely prefer the Bond Strength over that one. And speaking of the Bond Strength line, the hair mask from Dove in the Bond Strength line is also one of my absolute favorites. It is more of a thicker hair mask, which is what I like from hair masks. And first of all, this smells so good. I don't know what the scent is. If you guys have smelt the Tsubaki hair mask, I feel like this one is similar in the way that it smells in the hair. It's just so nice. And this helps to keep my hair very hydrated and prevent any additional damage. As you guys have noticed, I have colored my hair this year. It's been a couple years since I colored my hair, but I finally did it, and I feel like this, as well as the whole Dove system, has helped to maintain the health of my hair. My hair feels like silk when I use this, and it also, for some reason, the only thing I can think to describe the feeling is that my hair feels plumper when it's wet and I'm applying this and when I'm rinsing it out of my hair. It does have a peptide complex to reverse the look of damage, and personally I feel like my hair was healthy before, but after chemically treating it, like I said, my hair still feels and looks really great, and I think this has a lot to do with that. Now, a new dry shampoo to me that has made it into my best of 2025 list is the Amika Perk Up Plus Extended Clean Dry Shampoo. I've used the regular Perk Up dry shampoo years ago and I really liked it, but this one I think is even better because it feels even more lightweight while absorbing the oils in my hair. This leaves no residue. When you do spray it, it does come out white, but I'm able to like zhuzh it out of my hair. Or one of my favorite ways to do it is I will actually blow dry it out after letting it sit for like 30 seconds to get rid of the residue, and this method will give me a ton of volume. Now, ingredient wise, this has mandelic acid to keep scalp balanced, and it has sea buckthorn to nourish, rambutan seed extract to reduce odor, and it has arrowroot powder to soak up any excess oils in the hair. And not to mention, this smells so good. So it does have that original Amika signature scent, which is sandalwood, vanilla, rose, orchid, and grapefruit. One body wash that I want to mention is the Sol de Janeiro Delicia Drench Shower Oil. They came out with this in the last couple of months, I believe, and it's the Cheirosa 59 fragrance, and this smells incredible. So I really like the Cheirosa 59 body spray. That was the one that I picked up, and I think it's my only Sol de Janeiro body spray. It smells like warm sugared vanilla while having, I believe the floral note is jasmine. And I had to pick up the body wash because I was hearing so many people rave about not only the scent but also the actual texture of it. So it is a shower oil, so it says it's an oil to milk texture, and I would agree that it starts off as an oil but it kind of lathers up more than like a milk body wash would. It has a very, very nice lather. I love a body wash that gives me a lot of bubbles, and the thing I love the most about this is it actually feels hydrating still once you wash it off. If you've ever used a shower oil, that is such a big benefit for it, and sometimes I can go without using any lotion if I use this body wash. I will say for a body wash, I typically would not want to spend a lot on a body wash, but I did buy this during the Sephora sale and I have not been able to get enough. I have kind of been rationing it, like I'll rotate my body washes, but every time I use this, it just makes me so happy. It feels so silky smooth on the skin and it is so good. Lastly, I want to talk about some fragrances, and I have really been diving deep into fragrances. I used to be just a clean scent, skin scent type of person, but I have branched out. I have tried more gourmand scents, more like vanilla gourmand scents. I have tried more fruity scents and a little bit of floral, but not a ton. But I have found so many staples this past year and a little beyond that. So right now, Mochi Milk from Dead Cool is probably my favorite. So Dead Cool describes this as a sweeter gourmand take on the warm notes found in milk and extra milk, which are two scents that I really love. Extra milk is just a more intense version of milk, and those are very beautiful skin scents, and I would say kind of foundational scents for Dead Cool. This one smells like a sweet rice milk, marshmallow, and vanilla, and while it pulls very, very sweet, it has that grounded warmth and skin scent that milk and extra milk have, which I think tends to make it less sickly sweet for me and a lot easier to wear as my everyday fragrance. Sometimes I do feel like that this is a bit heavy for days out in the summer, but I don't always feel this way. Like I kind of go into moods where I think it's perfect for summer, and then sometimes I feel like it's a little too heavy. It really just depends on the day, but either way, this scent, it just makes me so happy. I love to wear it before bed specifically, or on days or nights in. I think that it's such a cozy fragrance, and it's a beautiful layering fragrance as well. So I personally love to layer it with Milk from Dead Cool, Lake and Skies 1111, or Missing Person from Fleur. Next we have Glossier You Rev. Now I was super surprised by how much I enjoyed this one. I thought that I would love the scent Dew more than Rev because those two released at the same time, but Rev really took the cake for me. This smells like spring and summer to me, and it's still a warm scent like Glossier You is, and it has that slight sweet gourmand to it where it's not a straight up gourmand in my opinion. This one is described as being a lush sweet gourmand, and I love how it still has that heart of Glossier You, which is a beautiful skin scent and the only fragrance that I wore for years. So this one has a top note of buttercream. The heart note is plum butter and toasted almond, iris, and sandalwood. And then the base notes are ambrox and ambrette. Now, of course, I have to talk about Lake and Sky's 1111. This one was introduced to me when they sent it, and I could not believe that this was a scent that I didn't already own. This is a perfect skin scent, but it has a little bit of an elevated, whimsical feel to it that's a bit airy, like they describe, and it's woody, but more skin scent to me, and there's something about it that just smells like clean without being linen or laundry clean. It's just this beautiful light scent when I want a little something, but I feel like any other stronger scents like a vanilla or a gourmand or floral or whatever will trigger a headache for me that day, because I am still pretty sensitive to fragrances. And like I said, this is a great layering fragrance. Whenever I want a little bit of something, I want to warm up a fragrance or even like ground it a little bit, I will use this as my base and then spray whatever fragrance on top, and it seems to work so well for almost every other fragrance that I own. And I also love Lake and Sky's 1111 Vanilla, but overall I have worn this one more. This is in my project pan. It is empty, but I do have a full size waiting on me, and everything about this one is beautiful. This is Fleur's Father Figure. This is by far one of my top fragrances for sure, and it's really hard for me to describe this one if you've never smelled it. And without looking at the notes, the way that I would describe this is being slightly green, very lush and warm, but also bright at the same time. So the top note of this is water lily, lush fig, cassis buds. The heart is orris root, iris flower, jasmine dew, and then the base is skin musks, vanilla Madagascar, and patchouli leaf and sandalwood. I kind of categorize this as being like my fancy fragrance. This is the one that I'm always gravitating towards whenever I have like a wedding to go to or a fancy event or just like a night out type of thing. This is what I want to smell like. It just smells lush and clean. There's also a little bit of like a minty feel to it, not a minty note, but it almost gives a little bit of like clean mint scent to it. I don't know how to explain it. You gotta try it. This is guaranteed compliments for me. And lastly, for fragrances and for this video, the Diptyque La Papier. Now this is another super clean and subtle fragrance that smells honestly kind of like fresh paper, and for me this fragrance is a sentimental one because it was my souvenir fragrance from my trip to Japan with my husband, so this has a special place in my heart. This is described as having notes of white musk, mimosa, blonde wood accord, and rice steam accord. There's something about this fragrance, it's so clean but it's also slightly like spicy. It truly does kind of smell like paper and rice. For me, this is kind of like a nostalgic scent. It smells clean and bright. It's really subtle, but it stays subtle. Like, it's a very subtle scent, but it has pretty good longevity on me, and it wears very long on my skin. Ooh, okay, you guys, that was a very long video. There were a ton of products. I feel like I'm definitely forgetting some products, but this was my whole roundup of all of the best of beauty products in 2025 so far, now that we are halfway through. I would love to know what some of your absolute favorite products of this year have been, whether they were released this year or you just have been using them nonstop this year. Please leave it in the comments down below and share with us some of your favorites. I will leave last year's video right here of some of our best of beauty products in case you're interested in seeing those. And until the next video, take care, you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.